gentlemen, welcome to Watching with J.Beau. Today's in the mid-50s. It was actually cooler earlier, and it's going to warm up as the evening goes on. Expecting some rain showers tonight. Be in the upper 50s. So I'm running on a little bit less sleep. So I don't feel as energetic as usual. But anyway, trying out a super view wide angle. Because you can get more stuff in the picture. I'm thinking today on the route that I'm going on might be the peak best day for foliage that we're going to get. And again, this year the foliage has been kind of muted. It's off kilter because of the drought we had this year. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's just not the same as the usual amazing fall foliage we get. But that's okay. Probably make up for it next year. So anyway, now we're at day 24 into the government shutdown. I think the Democrats did this without an exit strategy, which is really unfortunate. I think all they saw was the No Kings rally. And an opportunity to play politics. And that certainly was not as big as people thought it was going to be. Republicans aren't folding. Susan Collins has been trying to work with some Democrats to make a pledge and a promise to go negotiate some kind of solution. I certainly don't want to see. Hi. Hi, buddy. I certainly don't want to see Republicans cave. But I think the inevitable non-exit plan, non-exit strategy by Democrats, which is evident they don't have one. What they have is they have Trump derangement syndrome, and it is clouding up everything. The Democrats feel that they have to be the toughest they have ever been because Trump is so powerful and he's winning, basically. They won't admit it. And this hurts the Democrats. This hurts everybody. There's going to be some people mad at the Republicans for this. And, you know, Republicans, Democrats are trying to manufacture a healthcare crisis to cover what they've done. And it's not working. You know, the dam is starting to crack for Democrats. This isn't working. Their big protest is over. I wouldn't say it was a dud, but it wasn't the success they were hoping for. And it's an organized protest to begin with. It's not organic. And most of the people that attended it seem to be geriatric, old white people. Every video clip I saw is pretty much mostly the crowd. Angry old white Democrats. Very bizarre. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know neither side is going to allow an 80-year-old grandmother on Social Security to starve next month. I mean, we know that's not going to happen. Problem is, the Democrats are going to try to force the Republicans. They're playing chicken. They're going to try to force the Republicans to cave. Because typically, Republicans always lose government shutdowns. Always. And it doesn't look like that this time. The Democrats are the ones that caused this. The American people aren't stupid. And you're going to see polling that's going to be basically 50-50. Which is what the election result was. Which is what Trump's approval is. Which is what everything is, 50-50. A split, divided country. Like we've not been divided since the Civil War. So that's not a surprise. Basically, nothing's changed. So I'm predicting the shutdown is going to end, not today, not this weekend, because they won't be in session this weekend. But next week is the last week before the government funds run out, officially. And they're going to have a solution. So we'll see what happens this week coming up. And Chuck Schumer knows this is wrong because he did the right thing earlier this year. So that's a given. He's just under a lot of pressure, or he's going to be removed from the speakership, which he's going to be anyway. And he's afraid of being primaried, which he's going to be anyway. This isn't going to save him. The Democratic Party is getting young. They're going young and more radical. which benefits us. I'll explain around the corner here. That really does benefit us. I'll explain how in a minute. You probably know already. You people aren't stupid. I'm going to switch over to my sometimes used selfie cam that I like. I also brought the 360 cam today in case we do have some nice foliage to look at, which, judging by these trees here, I don't know. You see the ones in the distance? Now typically those would be all orange, reds. They're all browns and yellows. They just look dull. So, but if we get a nice sea of yellow foliage, might be okay. I wanted to use this super view wide angle so we could get more foliage in the picture. Get a wider canvas. Even though, like, this pole right here looks like it's bent. But that's what wide angle does. We want to see more leaf action today. All right, everybody, it's me. This is the selfie view I'm using today. Now, why am I doing that? Well, I kind of like the contrast of picture views when editing, so that's the only reason why I'm doing that. And now this camera doesn't have any stabilizing, but on the selfie view that's kind of up close with a wide angle, I kind of like the raw video look of it. Plus the picture quality is really good with this little cheap camera. So anyway, I think that's how the government shutdown is going to end. This has all been basically to fight against Trump. That's all they talk about when they talk about the shutdown. They're just talking about Trump. It's incredible. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. So theoretically, you'd think Democrats don't want to see an 80-year-old grandma on Social Security in low-income housing who, you know, may have worked in a factory her whole life, doesn't have a whole lot of money, and now she needs the SNAP benefits or the health insurance, or both. She has doctor's appointments, she has medical issues, and then you have the single parent with a disabled child. I mean, I can't imagine Democrats allowing that. You only need 5 Democrats to cross over and vote. 5. So far they have Fetterman and independent Angus King. That's all they've gotten. I think when it comes down to crunch time, you're going to see people cross over. And I've been pretty disappointed with, I've been very disappointed actually with, adjust the camera angle, Rand Paul of Kentucky. He's not voting in favor. I think he'll cave at the last minute as well. You know, because he's got these libertarian ideology that it's wasteful spending, and he's never going to vote to support it. But at the same time, he's going to start hearing about his own constituents who need the health care, Medicaid. So Medicaid runs out, guess what? That means, you know, like my dad, when he was alive, once a month he'd have to go get a proton test for blood clotting to keep his blood thinners in check. He'd get a proton. I'd have to bring him for that blood work once a month, and then, you know, going by that, you can adjust how much vitamin K you're taking in, which affects blood clotting. And so all that blood work, monthly prescriptions, it's all paid for by that. Democrats are not going to let that happen. I don't believe it. Well, we got one tree looking like the ones are supposed to look. One tree. So, my friends, basically, this is going to come down to Democrats. I don't think Republicans are going to budge because they passed the one big beautiful bill and they haven't stuck anything extra in the CR. There's nothing to negotiate with. Democrats want to spend $1.5 trillion that the Republicans took away because Trump campaigned on a more fiscally responsible government, cutting out waste, fraud, and abuse, and the Democrats want it back. So the good news is, if you're going to find any, is if the government shutdown continues much further, the court is going to decide that President Trump can, in fact, cut out all these Democrat programs because the government is not in session. Somebody has to run the government, and Trump has constitutional authority, and they're going to fire many, many, many government employees that are non-essential. Speaking of that, there was a bill on the floor to continue funding essential government workers, you know, like air traffic controllers, police, border security. Well, border security has their money, but border operations, things like that. So the Democrats blocked it. It needs 60 votes. Republicans have even considered getting rid of the filibuster. That sounds good in theory, but it basically means you need a simple 50-vote majority to pass anything you want. And I don't think anybody wants that. That's the problem. Because what if the Democrats get the Senate? People are going to say, oh, Democrats should get rid of it and bring back the filibuster. Well, how's that argument going to fall when the Republicans got rid of it? The Democrats wanted to get rid of the filibuster when Biden was president, and they were talked out of it with common sense because AOC and these young Democrats, they want the filibuster gone so they can do what they want. And what goes around comes around kind of thing. If they had gotten rid of the filibuster, we'd be able to pass all of this stuff we want to now with no obstruction whatsoever. And that sounds good, but it can also not be good, because the Democrats will do the same thing, and they'll say, well, the Republicans did it. The Republicans did it, and they would be right. And they're going to pass a whole bunch of stuff that is completely ridiculous. Like it's okay to fire people that don't want to get a vaccine. And it's okay to do this. Crazy. And it's okay to do that. That's crazy. It would be like New York and California, because New York and California are running Washington, D.C. So we can't have that. So anyway, I'm going to switch back to the other camera. All right. So I think I explained that well enough. I mean, that's just all common sense. I do not want the Democrats ever to be able to govern without a filibuster. And, you know, with all this stuff that Trump has done, the next time the Democrats do have the Senate, they're probably going to get rid of the filibuster. Because right now they feel powerless. And when they get it back, they're going to go crazy with it. They're going to go scorched earth on a retribution tour. So anyway, I can see it's kind of a nice day today. Now that sign right there says Graham Plattner. That guy's been making the rounds. He's making the news. Since that poll came out in Maine, it's got him at 58% in the Democrat primary. Janet Mills, 24%. The two-term governor and leading Democrat in Maine is making a terrible showing because she's a real shitty, horrible candidate. She's a shitty, horrible person. She was a shitty, horrible governor. And she's going to lose. So, that's just the way that is. You know, she's a friggin' lunatic, basically. But she's the sanest Democrat. So she's far left, she's a hyper progressive, but she doesn't go too far. And Senate Majority Leader at the time, Troy Jackson, tried to do some last minute shenanigans on a day that was just supposed to be the last day of the House in Maine. A lot of the Republicans went home, a lot of the Democrats went home. Then they tried to pull some shenanigans and pass a whole bunch of last minute stuff when people weren't in session. They had left, because that's usually what they do. So they tried to pull a dirty trick. Janet Mills refused to sign anything they passed. She said, we have to stick to our norms, we can't do this. This is going to destroy our legislative norms. And she took the sane-headed approach, like Schumer did at the beginning of this year, when he wouldn't shut down the government. So these people are always in a rock and a hard place with their own party, I guess is what I'm saying. And they're stuck. They're stuck. They can't cave in or give in to Donald Trump and the Republicans. But they're also going to be responsible for people losing their health benefits and SNAP benefits, food stamps. And they're not going to allow that to happen. That would be politically disastrous no matter what. There's no excuse they can make for that. And blaming the Republicans isn't going to work. So I expect this week, because we're already in the longest shutdown we've had, I believe. I think this is the longest one. I mean, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know how bad their Trump derangement syndrome is, but I'm surprised we're still here at this point. So I guess it would not be shocking. But this is definitely has the potential to be a catastrophic self-caused immolation by the Democrats. So kind of a nice day today. I was hoping the sun would be out nice and sunny. Like I said, it's going to warm up as the afternoon goes on into the evening. And we're going to get some rain showers tonight. And the trees are not looking that spectacular right now. I think they have zenith. They should be absolutely gorgeous and popping right now on this date. Full, lush, beautiful, like last year. You can find a video in my walking playlist for this month last year on today's date, or the 22nd, 21st or 22nd. If I remember right, I got some really great, beautiful fall foliage. And this looks more like first week in November, post the foliage. Oh, look at the turkeys. Wow, big birds. Don't run away, guys. Those turkeys are all full grown. Look at that. Ten gobblers. 10 gobblers. That looks nice. There's old Henry out there on his tractor mowing the rest of his field. Beautiful day. All right. So the leaves are not all bright reds and oranges, but they still have a nice look to them, I guess. Some of the trees are a little thin, a little bare. It's trying to do it. It's trying to. I mean, that's a gorgeous shot right there. All right. So we will walk on this way. Well, the alpacas are out. Very nice shots. I want to get a shot of that. I want to get a shot of that. These ducks are going to take off. But we don't have geese here now because we saw the geese flying away the other night. And we do have a couple of ducks here. Some ducks being ducky out there. That was a nice shot. Well, we'll walk back this way. That was a nice shot. I think so anyways. So we got Halloween coming up. I'm sure that'll be strange this year. Usually is anyways. Oh shoot, dead squirrel. Hi. Can't believe how big those. I gotta switch cameras here. Hold on a minute. Can't believe how big those turkeys were. Those freaking things are huge. So anyway, like I was saying, we have Halloween coming up, and seems to be a lot of enthusiasm for it this year. Not as much as last year. Last year, I think a lot of people were looking to have more fun, being more hopeful. This year, I think things are settling down, unless you're a Democrat. But anyway, we're having a nice walk on some back roads. I'm enjoying it anyway. So President Trump is on a 15-hour flight, I believe. Close to it. Probably, excuse me, a couple of pit stops to refuel. But he's on his way to Asia. From Washington, D.C. It's a long flight, that's all I'm saying. I'm going to go have a talk with some Asian leaders. Hopefully he's going to be meeting with Chairman Xi in China. Not sure about that. But Trump is trying to secure trade. And, you know, so we got some things going on right now. We got the World Trade Organization, WTO, has filed lawsuits against Trump and the United States because why wouldn't they? You know, they've been taking advantage of us. It's going to cost them billions of dollars if Trump does what he wants. So whether or not a president can dictate tariffs is going to be coming up in front of the Supreme Court. And that one decision is going to decide if we're going to be a prosperous country or if we're going to continue going bankrupt. If they turn around and say that only Congress can impose tariffs, well, it's all over. Congress can't even agree on who should wipe each other's asses, you know? That should be a given. Wipe your own ass. They fight about it. They argue can't get any legislation passed for it. So, trusting Congress to regulate tariffs, it's not going to work. Kiss the country goodbye. Congress can't get anything done. So, you know, they'll just wait till Trump's gone, and then we're going to have the same things we've had. With unbalanced trade and the United States going broke, spending like drunken sailors. It's going to go right back to that. That's what they would love in DC, for Trump to go away. So this is a very big court decision coming up, which should favor the president, because past presidents have issued tariffs and nobody said anything. Because Trump, gotta get Trump. So, and unfortunately on the Supreme Court we do have a DEI hire, Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's an activist. She can't keep her mouth closed. She's not taking her responsibility as a Supreme Court justice seriously, and she's an idiot. She's not well versed on many laws. Should not have been appointed to that position. But it was the Biden administration. DEI is their business. So we're stuck with her. It's a lifetime appointment. So that's why Trump's first term was so important. Now, does Gorsuch rule every single way Republicans want? No. Does Barrett? No. Does Kavanaugh? No. But for the most part, it takes away power from the Democrats. At least we have some semblance of sanity. So, a couple rulings have gone not our way, but a lot of them have. Democracy, right? We got to deal with democracy. So anyway, I'm going to switch the camera around because we have some pretty nice vistas coming up if we're going to see any. And if we're going to see them, you can't be looking at my face for the whole walk. Oh yeah. We have leaves. Well, it's kind of hard to get disappointed at this, isn't it? I mean, you just have to take my word for it. If you're not used to seeing it, this is not as good as they usually look. But, you know, they look... they got a look about them. I should look at it like, you know, it may be years before I see a fall foliage season look like this. So I should enjoy it. It's different than past years, and I guess that should be appreciated. I'll come up over the rise here. Like I've said many times, this is where you need to be careful of traffic when you have a crest in front of you. Good news is we've stopped seeing syringes on the side of the road. So whoever was doing that stopped doing it for whatever reason. They're either dead or they quit doing it, which I doubt. They're probably dead. Or they moved. Could be too. Whew. Yeah, so if you get a chance, you should check out the Supreme Court website. And whenever they discuss cases, they have a live stream, and then they are also archived, and you can listen to the idiot Ketanji Brown Jackson arguing cases with people. And I'm really surprised that a couple of times the lawyers arguing on behalf of something don't start laughing at her because she says so many stupid things. It's really embarrassing. And she's there to represent black people and women on the bench. And that's why DEI, in a nutshell, is ridiculous, because look how harmful that is. They're trying to promote minorities by giving them positions that they shouldn't have, and then they look poorly while doing it. And I don't understand how they can promote that. I'm sure there were other black women more qualified, more versed in the law, but everybody knew her and liked her. She was an activist. She hates Republicans. That's what they want on the bench. So she got recommended, and I will guarantee you she was not handpicked by Joe Biden himself. His wife probably said that he should pick her. Jill Biden. Now I want to take a second to talk about President Trump on the official White House account. They made a video of events of the past that happened at the White House, and you can see it on the official White House social media pages. There's a video on there that has clips in it of renovations that happened in the past. You go to whitehouse.gov/, it's actually wh.gov/renovation, and you'll see the video I'm talking about. And you'll see a line of pictures. You're scrolling through the pictures, and then you get to Obama standing there with the Muslim Brotherhood, and then you have a picture of Hunter Biden passed out in the tub with a crack pipe in his mouth. Then you have a picture of Bill Clinton with Monica Lewinsky, and it's the White House trolling the Democrats so hard that was like so savage it takes a moment to take it in and understand what it is. And really absolutely crazy. Certainly not presidential, but hey, I don't care. Anyway, I'm going to switch to well, not switch to, I'm going to add a 360 camera for this stretch up here, because this looks kind of nice, I think. Sure both sides of the lenses are clean. That matters with the 360. Okay, comes off. Make sure both lenses are clean, or else half your picture will be blurry and the other one won't. And it just happens to be in a place that you always touch with your hands on the back of the device. So then I'll start recording. Put out the extendy pole. And if you want to see what this looks like, check out the 360 playlist. You can control where you look in a 360 spherical view. And if this video isn't on the 360 playlist when you check it out, have patience, my friends, it will be. Mowing the leaves. That's what they're doing. They're mowing and mulching the leaves, or just picking up the leaves. So anyways, my friends, that is the 360 view for today. 360 playlist. Check that out, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's continue on, continuing on. We'll leave the 360 view camera out because around the corner we might get a nice view. We'll see how that looks today. Through a bouteille on the side of the road. That's bottle in French, by the way. You should pick it up and put it in a boîte. Put it in a box. Yeah, see? These trees here are all stripped. The leaves are all gone. So not going to bother with the 360 on this part. It's everything's changing, my friends. Pretty soon I won't be walking this walk. I won't be walking this walk, and I won't be talking this talk. I'll be walking it somewhere else. But I'll be walking somewhere else. Too dangerous on this road in the wintertime. I walked on this road twice in the wintertime, and that was only after significant snow melt. There was either barely any snow or no snow. Otherwise, I'm not walking out here. Mine at talks, suckers walk. You can't touch my 3-log box. Dan, 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 dan. Old Sammy Hagar song. I like that album. 3-log box. It's one of his better albums. I also like the one that has Can't Drive 55 on it. I also like the job he did with Van Halen on OU 812. Very good album. Yep, everything shades of brown. Brown and yellow, no reds and oranges. So watching how ultra hyperbolic the Democrats have been over the White House renovation. And that's all it is. This is just pure hatred for Trump. And do you know why they're upset? Have you thought about it? I mean, they are ridiculously way over the top, more upset than they've been about anything Trump's done. And I was trying to figure out why. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, it's always sad when you see things like the White House get changed. But they tried to make it sound like Trump is destroying the White House. Because the pictures show a wrecking ball, basically, ruining everything. But that's just a small portion way off to the side. So they made the wh.gov/renovation website. All right, go check that out. wh.gov/renovation. It has the artist renditions of how it's going to look. And the White House is going to be left better than they found it. It's needed a ballroom for a long time. The White House is actually pretty small in person, from what I gathered. We always see pictures of it where they use wide angle or lenses or things like that. But from every account I've seen of people that have been there, they said it's actually small. It's not very big. And that was done intentionally because we didn't want to look like a monarchy. We didn't want to look like Europe, basically. All these palaces in Europe have these big, giant, grand palaces. And we decided we didn't want that. However, there's never any room in there to do any functions for Democrats or Republicans. They've complained about it for years. We need a bigger room. We need a bigger space. Trump wanted to do this in his first term. Then we had COVID and we had impeachments, and so it didn't happen. So the Democrats are freaking out like, you know, Trump's going to put in an amusement park with water slides or something, you know, something gaudy and horrible. And all the pictures are on that website I told you. Go check that out. That's what it's going to look like. And the Democrats, you know, they have these young interns working for them on their social media accounts, and they're trying to make this look like, I think I saw one picture where the intern posted a photograph saying that Trump was going to make it look like Russia, right? Because he's Putin's puppet. And they actually used a picture from the freaking palace in England because they're young and stupid and they don't know anything. They just saw a picture with a lot of red in it. Figured red, Russia, it's got to be Russian, right? So, you know, that's the kind of stupidity we're dealing with here. So anyway, while the government is shut down and people are worried about their money and their jobs, Trump is building a personal ballroom because it's no longer the people's house. It belongs to Trump. Now, I figured out why they're pushing that theme and why they're upset and why the Democrats are really, they are extremely irate at this. It's not because he's building a ballroom. They know it needs one. It's not going to be gaudy, but when Trump is out of office, he's still going to be there, and they fucking hate that. That is what they're angry about. They're angry that he's leaving something behind they know that nobody's going to tear down and get rid of because it was Trump. So you may even get, if you get a Democrat president again, they may even redecorate the whole place to look more modern, just to fuck Trump. But that building's going to be there. Now, Trump is kind of a historian. He can tell you every little thing about every president that's been in office, what they did good, what they did bad, what brought them down, which is one of the reasons why he's against being in any wars, because any presidents that have been in any wars, except for World War I and World War II, ended up having a terrible presidency. Because it's terrible. You have to play politics, you know, and it just ruins everything. So Trump doesn't want that. He doesn't want no Afghanistan. He doesn't want no Ukraine conflict. He wants to have a legacy in DC and be remembered because he knows he's going to die. Everybody does, right? So he wants to leave something behind. Now, he could really be an asshole and name it the Trump Ballroom, but I think he knows that they're just going to end up changing that after he's out of the White House. So he should pick somebody that the Democrats would not remove, at least without a lot of grief they would get for it. Call it the Charlie Kirk Memorial Ballroom. Call it the Charlie Kirk Memorial Ballroom. I really hope he does that. So this should be interesting. We'll see what happens. I also think Trump is going to build a Trump ark big one, and I don't think that'll be removed either. But anyway, that's why the Democrats are angry. They're angry because, yeah, okay, Trump's policies, we fucking hate him, but he'll be gone someday. He'll be gone someday. We just got to get through this. Now, you build this big ballroom that nobody's going to tear down. Trump's going to be around forever to remind everybody he was there. That's what they're upset about. Took me a while to figure it out. But I was really surprised at how angry they are. I mean, they are vehemently angry. So anyway, now we have the new Democratic Party. I want to talk about that while we're walking, which is younger, more radical. There's two ways to look at this. We can sit back and watch and enjoy it for a couple of reasons. And then I'll swap over to the downside of that. Is you get all these people. Graham Plattner had a tattoo on his chest. A Totenkopf, it's called. Totenkopf. K-O-P-F. However that's pronounced in German. That was on German Nazi uniforms, officers. And it has been a neo-Nazi racist symbol for a long time. Some people wore it for fashion, and that's what he's trying to say he did. But old Reddit posts of his, because he was one of those leftists on Reddit, he acknowledged what it was in a post in 2019. So he acknowledged what that was. And he even called it the Totenkopf. So he got caught lying already. All right. He knew what it was, which means he's a neo-Nazi. Which, I'll kind of fast forward ahead. We had January 6th, right? And we had Black Lives Matter riots. And the Democrats were all screaming about white supremacy, white paramilitary militias, neo-Nazis doing military training. So some states passed legislation banning that. Maine was one of them. They passed that in 2021, Maine legislature, banning paramilitary training. Now, the Second Amendment says anybody can go out with a gun and do what they want. So it's kind of a pointless law where it can only be used to charge somebody if you're organizing as a group ahead of time, advertising it as a political gun training kind of thing. Which again, that's not supposed to be illegal against the Second Amendment, because it is against the Second Amendment. Anyway, this guy is downplaying it, is my point. So we had Pete Hegseth, who had the Jerusalem cross tattooed on his chest because he's a Christian, because he likes Jewish people, and he's a Christian. And so the Democrats tried to turn that into a Nazi symbol and look like idiots doing it, because they go hyperbolic on everything, right? So they wanted to get Pete Hegseth Not because they felt he was incompetent or couldn't do the job. They wanted to get Pete Hegseth because he was going to get rid of woke from the military. One of the protected classes of the Democrats. That's why they went after him so hard on that. So fast forward to Graham Plattner, who actually does have a Nazi tattoo, which he did a cover-up tattoo on it, which looks like some kind of fish or weird seaman's kind of tattoo, because he's an oyster fisherman, allegedly. I guess he did do that or does do that. Whatever the case is, he went to a very affluent boarding school. So, you know, all of this stuff is coming out now about his lies and bullshit, and he's getting caught. So why is this happening? Coincidentally, that poll came out that has him at 58%, Janet Mills at 24%. Janet Mills is the candidate that the Democratic Party in Maine wants. Chuck Schumer picked her to run. It's going to give her money, and it's a very sought after seat because they still don't know if Susan Collins is running or not, even though she said she was going to or consider it. She hasn't made an official announcement yet, I should add, but it's a given she will. So the reason why I'm talking about all this is to give some backstory and for people to understand what's going on. Is there's something called opposition research. That is where one party pays somebody to go dig up dirt on a candidate to use against them in a campaign. Hillary Clinton was a master at that. She's the one that brought up the birth certificate thing on Obama when she was seeking to get the nomination. She went after Obama with all the dirty tricks. Muslim Brotherhood, all this other stuff. That was Hillary Clinton. So all of a sudden you have all these big truths coming out about Graham Plattner. Well, they're doing opposition research. They're looking into his past. Politico reports that they're going to have a breaking news story on Plattner coming up. They won't say what it is, but I'm thinking it's not going to be good. So they're working really hard to get rid of this guy. Now here's why I hope they don't get rid of him. I hope they don't get rid of him because the Democrats are gone socialist. They have gone crazy. They have these young far-left extremists. They got all these nut jobs coming out of the woodwork. We got Ma'am Donnie in New York. The mayor in Chicago is a socialist. What's her name? Bass in Los Angeles. Lightfoot is another one. Gavin Newsom is a socialist. These are all younger socialists that are taking over the party. And, you know, Gavin's not exactly a young man, but he's young enough to fit in there. He's fit, healthy, energetic, speaks well. Problem is he talks out through his ass and says anything and does nothing. And people outside of California know that, so. But I guess the point I'm getting at is, you know, first we saw AOC, then we saw Ilhan Omar, and then Rashida Tlaib, and then we saw Presley out of Massachusetts, that black bald woman, absolute liberal socialist lunatic. And that's the trend that they're going. Younger, further to the left. The moderate Democrats, which I guess you'd have to say Janet Mills is, since she did veto some bills from her own party because they were too radical. I mean, the evidence is there to suggest that she really is a moderate by today's standards. Years ago, she'd be a far-left loon. So you can see where they're going. Now the Republicans are just remaining the party of common sense, and the left is losing their fucking minds over it, because the left is getting less popular and the Republicans are getting more popular. Cut across here. This car is going pretty fast. You can tell by the speed, the sound. So anyway, here's the way it can go down. Here's the pluses, okay? Let's say Graham Plattner unseats Janet Mills, the leading candidate that had the best chance of beating Susan Collins on policies and whatnot, because Maine is 1/3 independent. Of those independents, nobody really knows how many are left, right, center, or in between out of the independents. And Maine has a lot of unaffiliated party voters. Some of them vote Republican, some of them vote Democrat. Nobody really knows, okay? That's why they like it when people register with parties, because then they know basically how many people are voting, how they're voting, and it gives people an idea. It also helps people running for office, because they have to spend money on pamphlets, posters, mailings, and they'll take you off the mailing list if they know you have already voted. And they can tell if you've already voted, because if you're registered with a party, the voter roll shows that you have voted already. So they want to target people who haven't voted yet. And that saves them money, it saves them time. So that's why they like that. Some will argue they like that because they want to know who voted so they can cheat. But so far there's been no evidence of that, and I'm not going to go into conspiracy land. So anyway, the pluses for Republicans are the further left the Democrats go, the more they're going to lose, because the right is going to have common sense and stick with it, and the left is going to go so far left, further left than they've ever been, that they are going to be in a 25% minority as a voter base. They are ruining their party. This might work in France, it might work in Germany, it might work in Sweden, Norway, Finland, any of those countries in Europe, because that's what's happened to them. It's not going to work here. You got too many Americans ready to give the government the finger, and you have the Constitution, we have our rights, we have our gun rights, and the left is just too radical to be American. So that's the choice they made, and now they're shutting the government down. That's going to blow up in their face because they caused it. They can't say they didn't. They can get all the media in the world to blame the Republicans, but the Republicans are sticking with the same message. From day one of the shutdown until today, it was a simple CR. Chuck Schumer approved it earlier in the year, and now they won't because they want to hold people hostage. That's all you have to keep repeating over and over again, because that's the truth. That's what happened. So Democrats are going to lose this shutdown, one of the few they've lost, just because of not having common sense. So desperate to have something against Trump. This is, you know, that #2 Democrat said yesterday or the day before that this was the only leverage they had against President Trump. So this isn't about the CR, it's not about anything. It's all about Trump. Trump, Trump, Trumpity Trump, 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 Trump. All of the floor speeches I saw, Chuck Schumer had a photograph, giant picture blown up of the White House renovation, saying, just like President Trump is doing to the country, he's taking a wrecking ball to the White House. He's destroying our country. So that's what they're talking about during the shutdown. They're not talking about people losing Medicaid, the WIC program, paying for single mothers with disabled children. They're not talking about any of that. It's all about fucking Trump. How can we fuck Trump? So that's what they're doing. And this guy over here in his garage, that is my state representative, Mike LaJoy. And he's got the Vote No on One voter ID measure on his lawn. That is my state representative across the street. He's the one that voted against transgender foolishness in Maine. He's a Democrat. He voted against it. But he voted for gun control. So he's an asshole. Hope he watches this too. I call him once in a while. When they have gun bills on the docket, I call and tell him. You know what his answer always is? Well, I'm going to vote for it, and if it's illegal, the courts will sit. Let the courts decide. So like the last time I called him, I was like, you know, people vote for you to make decisions. You know that, right? Yeah, I know that. He's very polite. Doesn't argue with you. The former fire chief. I've called him a few times. He knows who I am. That's how I know that he agreed with the trans insanity. And on his way out of office, he had some bad things to say about the Democratic Party, how they treated him. And then guess what? A popular Republican was running in this district. They talked this guy that is the state rep now into running again out of retirement, because that's the only chance they had of beating the Republican, and it worked. He won because he was an incumbent. People already knew him. So that's how the Democratic Party rolls, my friends. The end justifies the means. They don't care how they win, they just want to win. They don't care if it's a Mamdani, a Graham Plattner. They don't give a shit. As long as they win. They'll deal with the fallout from that later. Now, Nancy Pelosi tried to keep AOC in line years ago, making fun of her, saying that she comes from a district that's basically a bunch of idiots that would vote for a blue bottle if you told it was the Democrat on the ballot. She actually said that. So, since then, we have seen quite a handful nationally of establishment Democrats that have been in office for 30 years get ousted by younger radical Democrats. This is the thing this is where the party is going. Chuck Schumer is going to get primaried. He's going to be out of a job. Nancy Pelosi is going to retire because she's going to have to. And the face of the Democratic Party is now going to be Pritzker, Newsom, Shapiro in Pennsylvania, Hakeem Jeffries. And Hakeem Jeffries is a socialist. So they are now going to be the Socialist Party, officially. But they won't change their name. They're going to keep the Democratic Party, even though they're not democratic. They're autocratic. So that's what we're going to get, my friends. So anyway, back to what the good and downside of that is. It should help Susan Collins win if Graham Plattner Actually, I think Graham Plattner is not going to step down. He's not going to bow out, because information came out with Mamdani associating with one of the clerics that orchestrated 9/11. And he's openly Muslim. He was giving a speech today to the Muslim voters in New York. And you know he's Muslim, he eats with his hands. No joke, I'm not saying it in a derogatory fashion. A lot of people in Central America do as well. A lot of third world countries, they eat with their hands. So a photograph came out of him looking nice, trim, nice suit, rings, well-groomed, looked really great. And he's sitting there in a restaurant eating with his hands, because that's what he does. Now, the white Republican voter looks at that, so look at this guy eating with his hands, that's awful. But to minorities, that's who they want to vote for, somebody like them. And that's why Mamdani is succeeding. But he can only win in a place like New York. They're so far left, it doesn't matter who you run for a candidate, they will win. So they went younger, more radical. And I'm going to fire up the other camera here, do a little selfie. So that's what you're going to see across the board in the entire Democratic Party. And that's why you're seeing the existing older token socialist, Elizabeth Warren. AOC is friends with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders originally was so far left, there's no way he could ever be president. And now, he's not as far left as the other people in his party. So when Bernie Sanders is starting to look like a moderate, that is crazy, right? But that's what's happening. So, I'm sure that's recording. So the Democratic Party is gone. Gone. It's never coming back. The only thing they have left to do is to hit rock bottom and implode, which they're doing now. But, again, like I said in a previous walk, don't assume that when they say they have a 19% approval from voters, that the party has imploded. They're unhappy that they're not fighting against Trump hard enough. So after this shutdown, the Democrat popularity among their voters probably will go up. And then Trump doing what he's doing to the White House might raise people's hopes for the Democrats, because the Democrats will be like their last hope to fight Trump. They all have Trump derangement syndrome. I've never seen anything like this, ever. So, basically though, they're going to eat each other alive. The younger, more radical Democrats are going to win their primaries. These older Democrats, their days are numbered. They're going to be gone systematically over the next 3-4 elections. So, this is going to be a young, radicalized Democratic Party. And it's going to cause a problem with the public. So, on a level we're still not seeing yet. You think things are tough now. Wait till Trump's gone and these lunatics start, you know, the subject matter isn't going to be about Trump anymore. It's going to be about them. So, anyway, the last thing I want to talk about is Canada. Well, Prime Minister Carney, Mark Carney, I'll call him Art Carney, remember him from Moonlighters. So, anyway, he is headed to Asia. He wasn't really planning on going there, I don't think, not under the things that happened, where the PM of Ontario, the Governor of Ontario, I should say, paid for a $75 million anti-Trump ad, anti-tariff ad. The problem is, the ad was a lie. It was an AI-altered Ronald Reagan speech, giving false information that Reagan never said about tariffs, ever. So the Ronald Reagan estate is threatening to file a lawsuit against Ford, has denounced it as fake. They put up the real video on their website and on social media. And because they did that, Donald Trump pulled out of trade negotiations with Canada and said all tariff trade negotiations are canceled. We're not going to talk. And he took off to Asia. So not long after that, Prime Minister Carney, who replaced True Glow Trudeau, is heading off to Asia. Presumably, he's going to hook up with Trump and have a talk with him. And simple fact is, Canada just fucked themselves, because for all the hoopla and hyperbole that they like to spew to their public, talking about how Canada is going to be self-sufficient, they're not going to be self-sufficient. They're too small. They need the United States as a trade partner. So, basically, they fucked up. They fucked up, okay? Trump derangement syndrome. That's what it does. It's terminal. So we're going to sit back and watch all of this stuff unfold. Absolutely crazy, right? So anyway, I'm going to go. Click like and subscribe, share the content, and understand that everything I say on this walk is what I know at the moment. It's not always correct. I might have some names wrong, like when I said Candace Owens got fired from the Daily Caller. She actually got fired from the Daily Wire. So that was a mistake I made recently. It's a small technical glitch. Both outlets are about the same, but the Daily Caller is a bigger one. Anyway, she got fired for anti-Semitic commentary and conspiracy theory stuff. And now she's really going crazy, and I didn't get a chance to talk about this on my walk. I'll just get it out real quick. Well, I talked about it on the last walk. She said that President Trump had Charlie Kirk assassinated. Can't make this up. I really feel bad for her. She's friggin' nuts. She's lost her mind. So I'm not even going to spend time talking about that. But anyways, my friends, say a prayer for Trump and the country. Click like and subscribe. Share the content. And we will see you on the next walk. God bless you, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.